a very brief, very general intro overview video. We can do more detail in other videos. Just to quickly, maybe naively, try and build a bridge between the left and the right, or the so-called far right and the so-called far left. Me and people like me are being accused of being racist, Islamophobic, hateful, etc., etc. Now, I'm trying to briefly introduce why I am calling the Green Party political extremists. Why am I saying this? Can I be more specific? Well, I'll try and briefly introduce more specifics. I'm not saying that everything the Green Party advocate is bad at all. No way. Am I saying that lots of people in the Green Party are bad? No, I'm not. Of course, we all want fairness, equality, justice, better distribution of wealth, etc., etc. People on the left and the right want that. Yeah, trying to build a bridge here very briefly. Why do I call a lot of people in the Green Party, or a lot of the Green Party, extremists? So it's because they generalize too much. I find they don't have a sense of nuance and layers in debate. They generalize, they make sweeping generalizations about people on the, we're going to call it the right or the far right. They brandish words around like racist and Islamophobic around like there's no tomorrow. Very unfairly. To me, that's extremism to label ordinary, everyday people from all walks of life, I mean all ages, all walks of life, in the patriot movement, which is so-called far right. It's not fair, it's extremism, it's bad to just label people Islamophobic and racist when they're ordinary, good people with concerns. These are layered subjects. You know, you need to have a sense of nuance and layer. You know, it's not just a black and white argument. You know, there are layers and all sorts of aspects to these debates. Many people that are being labelled Islamophobic by the Green Party are people who are concerned about doctrines in the Quran. They're concerned about power, the power side of Islam. They're concerned about women's rights. They're concerned about some of the teachings in the Quran, Sharia law, jihad, etc. That doesn't mean they hate or dislike individual Muslims. Many Muslims have been victims, have been damaged by this religion or the doctrines in the Quran. So it's not hatred towards Muslims. Islamophobia is a phobia or hatred of things that are in the Quran and of things that are trying to be imposed on this country. It's not against individual Muslims. And people being called racist all the time. You know, this is extremism because you're generalizing and oversimplifying. Most people that are being called racist, I believe genuinely racist people are in a tiny minority of the population. Most people being brandished racist are just people with fears and concerns about the immigration migration situation, which in at least half the population's view is way out of control. It's an urgent, desperate situation. People have concerns, fears. The situation is out of control. It's nothing. It's not racism. It's more layered than that. Again, I'm going to use the word layered. I'm waffling now, but just that's why I say the Green Party are extremist, or many of them, many of the people in the party or who vote for the party, because they make these sweeping accusations. They demonize a lot of ordinary people, calling them Islamophobic and racist. Yes, there will be a very small minority or a minority of bad eggs or borderline racist people, within reform or connected with reform, like there will be with any human organization or any party. You get a minority of bad eggs, but I believe true racists are in a very small minority of the population, and most people being called Islamophobic are not Islamophobic. They're not hateful towards Muslims. They're hateful towards some of the doctrines in the Quran and some of the dangers from Islam. You know, this is not a black and white debate. You know, there are layers to this. You know, you can't just if somebody's got an opinion about Islam and Muslims, it could be good and bad. There could be good and bad aspects. There could be positives and negatives. You can't just generalize. So yeah, I find the Green Party overgeneralize. I'll go into more detail in other videos, and they accuse They're extremists because they make sweeping accusations and say and demonize all sorts of ordinary people from all walks of life. I know people in the so-called far-right patriot movement that are from all walks of life, all different age groups. They're not hateful, they're not racist. We've even got people of different ethnic backgrounds. We've got legal immigrants, legal migrants. We've got gay people, transgender individuals within our movement, the so-called far right. And another thing I don't understand with the Green Party, why is there this emphasis on Islam and this favoritism towards Islam? At the very least, surely you would have equal respect and equal energy, equal empathy and care for both Christianity and Islam. You would view them equally. You would say good and bad about both of them. Why is there this favouring or perceived favouring amongst many people on the left, far left, the Green Party? Why is there this favouring and preference and emphasis on Islam, and perhaps not such a positive view of Christianity? Surely you should look at them equally, the good and the bad in both. So why this emphasis and this favouring and this priority given to Muslims and Islam, and why this generalization about Islam? Nobody's saying we dislike or hate Muslims. We're talking about, as I said, some of the doctrines in the Quran, some of the dangerous aspects, particularly for women. We don't want that in this country. There are some bad aspects. We're talking about the doctrines. I know a lady in Canada who I've interviewed, Elaine Ellinger. She's an academic expert on the Quran. She's an author, and she's got Muslim friends. She's actually helped Muslims who've been damaged or hurt by some of the doctrines within Islam or by that religion. She's not spreading hate. She's been accused of spreading hate. She's just being honest about the good and the bad and the dangers, the huge dangers of the Quran and Islam, jihad, Sharia. She's an expert. But as I said, she's got friends. She said, I'm not having a go at Muslims. I'm having a go at some of the doctrines and some of the teachings in the Quran. So that's why, that's essentially just a very brief video. Why I'm calling the Green Party extremists is because they are overgeneralizing. They're using extremely offensive words about ordinary people, such as Islamophobic and racist, which most people that are being called those things are not those things at all. It's way more layered than that. It's not a black and white issue. So yeah, for me, the Green Party, there's too much generalization, too much oversimplifying, too much brandishing around of words inappropriately, like racist and Islamophobic. We need a more nuanced debate about things. And there was one other point, I can't think what it was, I should have written this down. There was one other point I was going to make, is, the favouring of Islam and the emphasis amongst most Green Party members on what seems to me, or seems to us, to be virtually unlimited, almost chaotic immigration and migration policy with no limits, no quotas. Just, to me, seems like anarchy, seems crazy, seems unfair, seems dangerous. How is that fair on the people of this country? How is that normal? Why is it you can't have a conversation about limits and quotas and about maintaining our national identity? Why can't we have that conversation with many people in the Green Party? Why this extremist view amongst many Green people that there shouldn't be any limits or quotas, and anyone can come here, everyone's lovely that comes here, no problems at all, you shouldn't have any restrictions, or just welcome everybody. To me, that's extremism, that's dangerous, that's not the real world. Just a brief 10-minute video there. I'll go into more detail. It's a bit waffly. I'll go into more detail in other videos, but genuinely trying to use a cliched term, build a bridge really between the far left and the far right here, because I've said the Green Party are in many ways extremists. So I've been asked to explain why I'm saying that.